Hello, fellow risk takers. This is your worst podcast host, Andrew Stotz from A Stotz Academy. And we have a special episode today. I want to invite one of our guests back to the show. He was episode 503, which is about 3 years ago in February of 2023. So you can, I was 22. You can listen to his story by just going to my worst investment ever and then type in 503. His name is Stu Heinecke. Stu, welcome back to the show.
Andrew, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to join you.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
kind of
excited.
amazing to join you.
Yeah,
We're so far apart.
it's incredible. We were just talking about AI and just how we can, do this at such a distance. But also, I just want to introduce you to the audience and reintroduce you. And for those that are looking behind me, you can see Get the Meeting is just an amazing book. And I have a list of clients that I've been working with that and coming up with different types of ideas of things to send them to get them excited about it. So I'm a big fan. Thanks. And we're also going to talk about your book, How to Get a Meeting with Anyone. But before we do that, let me just introduce you. Stu is author of How to Get a Meeting with Anyone, named one of the top 64 sales books of all time and #1 sales book ever written on prospecting. And who doesn't need prospecting? That's where it all starts. He's a Hall of Fame nominated marketer and Wall Street Journal cartoonist. He's known for oblique perspectives and utterly unique strategies for selling, entrepreneurship, explosive growth, and of course, getting meetings. So Stu, tell us a little bit about what you're doing right now and, a little bit more for those people that have never met you.
The big story right now, the big news for me right now is that the updated edition of How to Get a Meeting with Anyone is coming out in June. I'm so excited about that. That book came out in 2016, and it really caused a stir. It caused a stir around the world. I can't believe all the people I've met from around the world who've said, I read the book. I'm thinking, you can get the book there? That's great. Wow. But they've read the book and they're saying that I want to share with you my story because this is what happened. And then they just share all these amazing stories. And even the company Reach Desk was founded. Alex Ollie founded it after reading the book. Because he was selling for a big multinational company, something like Siemens. Well, I don't think it was Siemens, but something like that. And they just thought, I don't know, I'm not getting through, and I'm not really enjoying what I'm doing. Mm. He read the book and he said, okay, this is what I want to do. And I mean, the last I knew, and this was now a few years ago, their last round of funding was a $48 million injection. They're doing pretty good.
He got the right meetings.
They're a big one, yeah. So a lot of things have happened.
Just so everybody knows, I'll have the links in the show notes where you can pre-order, and I've already pre-ordered mine. I know it's coming out in June, is that right?
June, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So I'll have the links in the show notes, so you just click on those, you can learn more about it, and then pre-order. Continue.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, just so much has happened because of that book, but also a lot has happened in the world. So obviously we had COVID, people started working from home, and then there's just been this enormous proliferation of spam on all digital channels. And I don't know why, but people think it's a good idea to do that. And I don't know. I don't get it, but they still think it's a good idea to do it. All it means is they're not standing out. They're not breaking through. So that in itself would be a good reason for writing an update. But then came along AI, and AI is just so, oh God, it's such a dazzling subject because, a lot of people they're scared of it. Oh my God, it's going to kill us. It's going to outlive us. And maybe it will. I don't know. But so far,
well, it's not going to outlive us.
Pretty
probably.
Useful. Yeah,
it may outlive our younger users, our younger listeners.
Perhaps they might worry about it. I'm not going to worry about it. But so it enables us to do such incredible things, just everywhere across the spectrum of human activity. But certainly in B2B sales, it does, and so it's changing B2B sales in some miraculous ways, really. So I'm a big supporter of it. I'm really excited about AI, but the thing is that I think that there's an interesting opportunity because as AI becomes more and more prolific everywhere, it's just everywhere, just it's part of our lives. I think that there will be a clamoring for things that are uniquely human. And so when we think about getting meetings, it's we have to make human to human connections. So we have to impress someone. We have to be audacious and surprise people and have them just say, "Wow, love the way this person thinks. This is incredible." All that still is valid. And so that's what was really fun about the book is that I was updating it, but it really didn't need a lot of updating. There certainly it has been thoroughly updated, but a lot of the techniques that are in the book they still ring true. You just may have to go through some different steps because someone is working from home to make sure you get it to them. But if you're sending something physical, that is, but you can still do all those really, really wonderfully audacious, crazy things that people have done and have been doing to get meetings.
And I wonder, one of the things that I always think about you is, you're just so creative. And I think that many people listening, viewing, listening to you on other channels and all that, they may feel to themselves like, I'm not that creative. I can't make a drawing or a picture. Or I also, some people may feel like it's out of character for me to do something audacious. How do you handle people that say that and they're holding back for those reasons?
Well, I would say I want to talk to the first one. The last one first. If you think it's out of character for you to break through, that's not a good thing. It should be part of your character to break through. And you ought to have some, I think we all ought to have a sense of mischief and adventure. I don't know. I mean, that's what it is. It's just, we're just making it playful and fun to do. So, man, if you do feel that way, you shouldn't let that continue. You should
Mm.
have
One
fun. If you're selling, you should have fun with it.
one of the
Um,
things I did after I read your book about get the meeting was that I crafted a really beautiful box. And
yeah.
I made my mistakes along the way, but it had the name of my company on the top of it in a elegant font. And it was pretty much, empty. I just put in one of my books that I wrote, and I wrote a hand note, and I sent it out to the CEOs of many different places, and then was following up. But one of the guys, when I went there, um, I actually ended up at his office to meet someone else, and then the CEO says, "You're the guy that sent me the box with the book." And I was like, "Yay!" So in that case, I was raising awareness more than trying to get a specific meeting with him, but it worked.
Yeah. Well, you know, okay, this is a conversation.
Mm.
I'll come back to your question a little bit earlier, a
Yep,
little
yep.
bit later. But I really want to, I don't know if it makes sense. Say it makes sense to me. I want to be replicated as an AI agent. I don't know who for yet. I don't know where, but what I would love is for someone to just jump on a session, and it's just like this. I'm just a talking head, apparently in Norway. I'm not there, but somewhere, and there are questions asked, and I'll ask you questions. Basically, I'll treat you like it will treat you the way I would a client, and say, okay, tell me what you're trying to do. What do you sell? What are some of the things that cause people to like what are their I don't know what flips the switch for them when you sell to them? Okay, great. What's your ICP? Who's your ideal customer profile? In other words, and what kind of trigger events are you interested in, or what do you think makes sense, and what kind of buying signals could we inject into the middle, or inject into the spec for all this? And then I'll say, well, hold on a second, and then the AI goes and says, okay, great, I've just built a top 100 list for you, and not only that, not only does it fit your ICP, but it's also weighted by the people at the top of the list. They have the biggest potential. They could change your scale, but they're also weighted because they're searching for what you sell right now, right? And so, okay, now let's launch some campaigns, and it just launches campaigns for you. So I just think we're in a really interesting time.
And do you see that? Have you found the technology that you're using to get there, or is that where your vision is of where you want to be?
I think it's really close. I
Yeah.
think it's really Synthesia is pretty interesting, and um, uh, I mean, would have to react to you real
Yeah.
time and move around. I mean, act like a
Yeah.
person, and so I think they're close.
Yeah. Because
And
I have
man, I would love to do that. I would really love to do that.
a student of mine who I went to visit. So in my valuation masterclass, which is an online course where I've got 30 hours of content and, videos and PowerPoints and all of this stuff, he loaded all that up into Notebook LM. And then he said, every time I have a question, I ask you a question through Notebook LM. And Notebook LM is only using the material that I've uploaded. I've uploaded all of your content.
Wow,
And they
man.
said, and he said, let's test it. Why don't you ask somewhat obscure question that only you think about or teach and see what the answer is. And so I wrote an obscure question that I know I'm teaching that's different from what's out there. And it came up with the answer. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So he and I have been talking. And what I really want to do is take all that content and then create that that I don't know, AI agent, or I don't know the wording for it, but just that resource that a student in my course can just say, it's middle of the night, maybe I'm not up, I'm not online, but they can just type in and go, how do I calculate such and such and get it? And then boom, it's there.
That's crazy, isn't it? That's
It's
crazy.
amazing. Um,
Now,
I,
you mentioned a box. Well, so one of the things I'm going to do, I want to reach out to some of the big CRM platforms and just some of the platforms that are supporting B2B sales right now to say, look, I've got the new book coming out. We could do a lot of stuff together. There could be some really interesting tie-ins, but the really big one is why don't we build that agent? So I'm sitting there and it'll appear like I work for you. But what I'm doing is I'm helping. It's kind of consulting with sort of light consulting, but helping them
mm,
um, do what I tell them to do in the book. And not only
mm,
that, but we'll do it for them. So or it will do it for them. So it'll start sending out campaigns for it. You have to pay for them, but
mm, mm, mm.
it'll start sending out campaigns. We should be able. So I'm going to reach out, and of course, as you might imagine, I love reaching out.
Yeah.
So, and you mentioned that box for your book. And I've been thinking, I've just been giving it some thought of what do I want to send and how do I want to send it? And I'm thinking that I don't know if you remember, but in that original book, there's a story about a sales rep who was calling. I can't mention the company or the CEO, but if you saw the movie Forrest Gump, a certain fruit company is who I'm talking about. And so he called on on that fruit company's engineering department. That's kind of strange. But anyway, and he had a software solution. They loved it. They said, "Okay, you got to talk to purchasing because we don't control any budgeting or the dollars." So he turned around, went to purchasing, and they never answered him. They just completely ignored him. So he thought, "Fine, I'm going to go around you. I'll go to the CEO." And the CEO is or was, he's no longer with us, but he was probably the most famous CEO in the world at the time. And so it wasn't going to be easy getting through to him either. And he tried everything he could think of. He was sending letters and faxes and, it's just anything he could think of, he was doing it, notes, whatever. Nothing was working. So one day, this box shows up and it has air holes drilled in it. And there's a handwritten note with it. And it said, um, dear, I can't say his name, but, dear blank, I've been calling on your engineering department. They love my solution. Then they told me to talk to purchasing. They won't talk to me. So I've been trying everything I can think of to reach you, and nothing's worked. So this is my final attempt. I think that's a great preamble to this. Anyway, but this is my final attempt. So if you would, inside the box, open the box really carefully because inside is a pigeon, and on the pigeon's leg is a little capsule, and inside the capsule, a little slip of paper. So if you'll write the name of your favorite restaurant, a date and a time, put it back in the capsule, and release the pigeon, I'll meet you there. And so I wouldn't be telling the story if it didn't come back. So it came back, and they met, and he walked out with a $250,000 deal. So I'm thinking that that's the story I want to share in a letter, my outreach letter. and I'm going to send it in a I don't know, a box where that you ship animals in.
Please
And I
take
think
care
it's
of
going to be
my
great.
hamster. But I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's so much fun to do this stuff, and as you said, in that one visit that you sent the book to the CEO, and he knew exactly who you were and remembered the package. I mean, the jewel boxing is a great
Yeah.
thing to do.
It,
Put it into a
the,
box that people can't forget, and it's all a lot of fun. And then the thing that happens is you change your scale because of it.
yeah. In fact,
Oh, and so I'm sorry, you asked a question and I didn't finish it, but um, what if I don't draw? Is I think
yeah.
the question, or what if I'm not creative? And I would say, well, God, it sounds like a real plug here, doesn't it? Read the
Mm.
book because there are a lot of ideas in there. It'll give you a lot of ideas. So I guess in a way,
And some
I
of
don't
them
want to
will
say,
resonate.
look, I think we're all creative, but
Yeah.
you don't have to be that creative. You could just read the book and let it sink in, and it will inspire something that you might use as a visual metaphor or art or some other approach that will get you through the door. And if you do it in a way that is audacious and clever, because you should put the time in and the
Yeah.
effort in to do that, I mean, you just won't believe the response you get, and when you walk in,
Yeah.
they have that same response or that same level of excitement about you that CEO did, and that's a great way to start a meeting.
You walk into applause. I want to tell you a
Yeah.
story. I want to tell you a story about that, about being creative. I have been a financial analyst all my life, so I send out research around the world to institutional clients who want to know what stock should I buy in Thailand, let's say. And I've been doing that since 1993. So I was pretty well known around the world, and I was, ranked the number one analyst in Thailand in the old days when I was doing that job. And in 2008, the financial crisis came, and I wrote a lot of stuff that was kind of personal at that time about how to get through it. And one of the things I talked about is, try some new things. I tried to learn how to dance with a friend of mine, and a week later, I was dancing with Miss Universe. That
Wow.
was the title of that was the beginning. And I explained how a friend of mine came over. We got a guy that was taught dancing, came to my house. We learned from him one time, and then my friend left, and we were going to learn, next week and next week. My friend left, and he was walking out of my street here in Bangkok, and he ran into Miss Universe. Now it turns out Miss Universe at that time lived in Bangkok, and he knew her because they were in some social circles. And so she asked him, "What are you doing in this school, in this street?" And he said, "Well, I'm just learning how to dance with my friend Andrew." And his name was Andrew also. And she said, "Oh, I'd love to learn how to dance. Can I join?" And then I have to tell you, Stu, I got the dumbest phone call in the world. I mean, in my life, and probably in the world. He said, "Andrew, do you mind if Miss Universe comes to our dance session next week?" So the next week, I have a picture
Yeah,
of me
right.
dancing with Miss Universe, and we just had a blast. But, and then, so the point of that story, though, is that a year or two later, I was in New York, and I was sitting down with a fund manager, and I was talking to him in a glass room. And just as I was talking to him in a glass room, someone knocked on the door, opened the door, and said, "You're the guy that was dancing with Miss Universe." And I thought, for
Wow.
20 years, I wrote some amazing finance research, and he doesn't remember any of it, but he remembers that. So memorable,
Well,
creative.
that's good. At least it gave you a story. It gave him a story to tell.
So,
Oh,
so,
that's fantastic.
so the
That's a,
idea of
that's a cool
being
story.
being creative. I want to ask for, since we don't have the AI agent yet, but we do have the real thing right now.
Hmm.
I would like to ask you, I'm launching a new product, and it would be interesting to just get some of your preliminary ideas on it. So the product is called the Profit Bootcamp. And
Okay.
what it is I help mid-size family businesses double profits in 12 months, guaranteed. And so I think My target market is mid-sized family businesses who are ready to double profit. Not everybody's ready, there's lots of other things going on.
Mhm.
So it's a pretty
Okay. Yeah.
in Asia in particular, that's a lot of people there. And so I have been working on this whole program, which is a 12-month program. I've been testing it with a few companies that I've done it with and helped them double profits. And on March 3rd, I'm launching it as an online course. And, I'm not so worried about the content and the delivery and helping them double profit. That's not my worry. My worry is reaching the right people. And so I have some people that I know that through my connections and the like, that I'm already reaching out for the first cohort that will join. But I need to bring this out to the wider world. And I'm just wondering from your creative mind, do you have any ideas? And I want the listeners and the viewers to think about what product or service are you bringing out and think about some of these ideas. So just curious if you had any thoughts.
Well, so are you asking about how do you find the list, or are you asking about once you know who they are, how do you reach out?
Yeah, I guess I'm not exactly sure what's the right question asked, but I do need to build my list and I do need to capture their attention and help them, see the benefit of what they can get from this. So those
Yeah.
are two things. I don't know
Um,
what your thoughts are.
well, I think I will address first of all who are they, because they have to self-identify somehow. I don't know that there's a list of people that are small business owners that are. I guess we're all looking to double, and some may be ready, but and that maybe there might be some trigger events that identify them. So that could be interesting. I might reach out. I don't know if this is a good idea or not, but I might reach out to some of the platforms like clay.com or Apollo maybe.
Mhm.
Uh, I know that also that 6 Sense, but 6 Sense is some of these are very expensive. So I don't know that they're a great fit for this, but 6 Sense, Seamless, and Zoom Info, they all, and I think 6 Sense has been at it. I know 6 Sense has been at the longest, that they are able to identify buyer intent signals.
Mhm.
Um, and oh gosh, I won't remember the name of it, but if you go to Seamless, for example, it's something like Bombora. That is it. So Bombora is a platform that identifies buyer intent signals. I think those
Okay.
could be really interesting. I guess I'd also use content,
Yep.
some sort of a lead magnet. But then once you know who they are,
Yeah, let's go to
uh,
that point because the other
then it gets
idea that
really
I've had,
fun.
what I can do is I also can go to the stock market because that's my expertise. I can look at all the mid-size family businesses on the stock market and then look at their level of profitability. If their level of
Ah,
profitability is
yes.
relatively low, I know that that is a potential. If their level of profitability is super high, they don't need me. And so let's
Well, I
say
wonder if you
now,
could even ask AI to help you find them, because
yep,
AI is
yep.
probably now the most powerful search
So
tool
let's
out there.
let's say we've got a
But
hundred, a hundred of the 100 target clients. What are
yeah,
some of the thoughts about how to reach them?
well, let's see. Well, one of the things I'm going to suggest might be a cartoon.
Mm.
So I could share a video with you here in a few seconds if you'd
Mm.
like. Um, but I want to, well, if if they're ready to double their revenues, then I guess it might be a fair assessment that they're missing something. So that's why they're not. Well, they aren't twice as far along. Um, so leakage might be a factor. So I happen to have something. I'm just going to grab it.
Yeah,
Um, it's one of my favorite little visual metaphors. This guy.
yeah. Which for
If
the
you spill
listeners,
coffee, you're
that's
not
a
going to drink
that's
it.
a
You're not going to suck it up off the desk
it's a
with
it's
a
a
straw.
coffee cup. It's a coffee cup that's been spilled over and the coffee is spilled out, but it's actually like plastic or rubber or something like that. That's
Yeah, it's
great.
some sort
Yep.
of yeah, and it's just there's a whole industry of companies that make fake food items. So this is just a fake spill of coffee, but I think it's a great device for. I mean, you can customize the cup as
Yep.
well.
Yep.
So the one I'm holding up for those who are listening in, it has a logo and someone's my actually one of my contacts contact information on this particular one, but you can
Is your profit spilling out of your
yeah, are you
business?
know because again because well, if you're if it's spilling out at all, if there's any spillage of your profits, wouldn't you want to know? you know and could we talk over a cup of coffee? That's another nice way
That's a good way to
to
do it.
pull in
Yep.
a if they're nearby, I think those are a great drop by device. I don't know that
Right.
they're all nearby,
Yep.
but if they are nearby, uh, there are some really interesting stories of things that sales reps have done that they're trying to get through. They're stopping at the front desk, so they're not asking for an appointment. They don't have an appointment. They're just walking in, saying, "Hi, I'm so and so. I wonder if this person has 5 minutes so they can introduce myself." And the receptionist will certainly say, "Are you kidding me? No. If you don't have an appointment, you're not getting in." And then it's like, that's fine. May I leave this behind? And you whip that coffee spill out. And maybe it has a Starbucks card in it and a little note that says, "Hey, I stopped by and I wanted to have a cup of coffee with you sometime, and this is why, because I think we can do this or that, and
Mm.
we'll actually have a great collaboration. Here's a good reason for us to talk." And they won't forget you. It's just like the CEO with your book.
Yeah.
They're going to keep this thing on their desk the rest of their careers. It'll
And
just it'll
and
just
I'm just
never.
thinking about the audience out there. What I find fascinating about you is that you open up my mind to come up with different ideas, and I think that um, I had a guest on a long time ago, and what he had was a volume game. Basically, he had an emailing system where you email out to 10,000 people and you're constantly, adjusting what website it's coming from because it's going to be labeled as spam. But if you're selling the right product at the right price in the right way, you're going to get 100 customers a month out of it or whatever that is. And I just looked at it and I just thought, this is not me. I don't
It's
think it's going to
deceptive,
work
isn't
for
it?
me.
I mean, it's clever, but it's deceptive.
Yeah. And so
Yeah,
when I think about what you're talking about is part of what you're talking about is how to shape an outreach that's unique, but also that is you. So when I think
yeah.
about what you have in your book as an example, you look through there and you find two ideas and you just test those two out that fit you.
Those are worth the book, the cost of the book. Got to say,
Yeah.
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 If I may share
Yeah. Hold on one
a
second.
video,
Yep. Let me just turn on the
and,
sharing.
and I'll set it up while you're
Yeah.
doing. I mean, I'll just explain that. I wanted to introduce myself to Billie Jean, the Instagram marketing influencer, and so I put together a little strip cartoon. It's one of my favorite strip strip cartoons. It's one of my favorites of cowboys sitting out on the range, kind of kicking it, because it's nighttime and they're sitting around the campfire. And so I sent it to him, and his assistant got it, and she said, "I've got to film an unboxing video." And so the thing that I really love about this video is I've sent cartoons out all the time throughout my career, and I've had great reactions to it, but I'm not there to see it. So
Mhm.
she gave me a chance to actually see this unfold in real time. So
Oh,
let's
that's
see if we can
exciting.
get that to play here. And can you see the video?
Yes.
All right, here we go.
I usually wait till you get here, Bill, to show your packages, but this one's pretty cool and I'm too anxious to wait and show you. So, here's the reveal. If I can get the cap off. Read how awesome this is. The Tale of the Hired Gun. I ever tell you fellas the story of the Billy Kid? Yep, sure did. How about Wild Bill Jean? You mean the marketing miss from San Diego? At least 100 times before. Yep, you can say that again. Look at the back. I'm kind of in love with this guy. Mad respect.
Well, that's the whole
That's
video.
amazing.
That's his executive assistant. So those are those assistants that everyone's saying, "How do I get around these people? How do I get to, how do I circumvent the assistant?" You don't. You include them, involve them in it. But my favorite part of that was calling him Wild Billie Jean. So they're just it's just a fun thing to put out. And I know that I mean I sent one to Gary Vaynerchuk and he has it up in his lobby, I think. So and Grant Cardone put his up in his podcast studio, and so people are not going to throw these away. So they're a great device. It might seem silly. I always feel like it's kind of silly to suggest sending a cartoon, but they really work. They're a great device.
And
So maybe
if
I don't know
if
something like those.
if a listener had, let's say, their Dream 100 list, and they went to you, is there a service that you're providing around that, or are you just helping them with,
Yeah.
Tell us more about the service that you provide.
Well, one of the basic things we do is big board campaigns. So the one I just showed you actually we now do those. If they're part of if someone wants a rapid growth program, then we use that same cartoon, that same big board that you just saw on the video, but it's blown up to 2 by 4 feet. So that's a big piece, and it really is inspired by what both Grant and Gary did with theirs. They put them up in their lobbies or in their offices somewhere, and so now it's big enough to be lobby art when it's 2 by 4 feet.
What's that saying?
And
It's
it's
too
the
big
biggest
to ignore.
impression. Yeah, what's the biggest impression we could make? And that is that you hit the nail on the head. You want to do this with your Dream 100 list. You don't want to just send these out because you have a list, some that you compiled or something. You have to have a list of the best people for you to reach out to who can change your scale. And now we know from AI that the best people you can reach out to who can change your scale, and they're already looking for what you're selling. So you've got to be targeting that kind of a list. So that's one form of it. And then here's another. So this is the outer packaging, but this is another form of big boards. These are our standard one, and so it's shipped in this corrugated cardboard packaging. I think we're about to change it. We may not print on the outside of it soon, and then inside is the wrestling. Here we go. But inside is the big board, and it's a cartoon about the recipient. These are 18 by 23.5 inches, and it's personalized. Amazing. So the one for those even just watching, the cartoon is two women having coffee, and one of them is telling her friend, I'm gonna personalize this. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense.
Yep.
So I sent one of these to Mark Cuban, and so in his example, she's saying Mark Cuban says you can tell a lot about a person just by looking at their Mavs tickets. I tend to agree. Well, he does too. He owned the Mavs, and so and because of that, it's up and it's framed. It's up on his wall. It's in his office. So, and then on the back is branding and a message from the sender to the recipient explaining who you are, why you want to meet, next steps. And then of course it goes out just to who it's going to, and it goes in that packaging. And so those are our basic services for contact marketing.
And you're doing that mainly, I guess, in the US.
Yeah. But the bigger ones actually could be done anywhere, actually, because we can I'm just thinking in terms of production and shipping. So we could send an output file to a sign maker. This is all sign making technology. So we could send files to a sign maker very close to wherever it's supposed to go, have them produce it, and then deliver it by courier. So there's that method as well.
I think that's an interesting one, and maybe I need to talk to you about that. And for a lot of my listeners,
I think we're going to do some business together.
Yes, I think we definitely can, because my Dream 100 is it makes a huge impact if you can double your profit, and that's really my focus. But I also think there's a lot of my listeners and viewers that are around the world that could benefit from it, and I know to have a local printer and stuff is can just make it super easy. So that's pretty cool. And tell me more,
Yeah.
just tell me more about, what else you've got going on in your life. I'm just curious, like, besides the book,
Man.
updating the book, and we've talked
Wow.
about
Well,
some of your services, but what's got you excited these days?
well, I mean, I can't. My publisher would be upset with me if I said I'm not excited about the updated edition one more time. but but I'm working on a new book as well, and so it's a long time ago. But let's say when I was 20, I had this dream, and I was in the New Mexico desert. You know how dreams are. I'm never in the New Mexico desert. I don't know why I was there, but anyway, I was in the desert in New Mexico, and this not flying saucer, this silver orb came down like a UFO, came down, landed, and this elegant gentleman steps out and he says, "Come with me. I have something to show you about your future." So I hopped in naturally, and that dreams don't make sense, right? So I hopped in, and in a second we were whisked to his mountainside house on the side of the mountain in Taos. And snaking up the side of the house was this glass and steel tube, just sort of going up, and it was just really this wild looking house. And I came to realize that was his creative studio, and and he was me, actually, at a much later age, like now. So, and he said, "Look, I'm going to tell you about the life that I've led. That's your life, actually. And there's some wonderful magical things, but you have to listen closely to what I'm going to tell you because there's some secrets to this that you got to adhere to, and you've got to do the work, or it's not going to happen." And then I woke up. I thought, oh my God, what, So this book is the book I wish I could have taken with me from that dream. It looks at 15 different headings. That I'm sure there'll be chapters. So a story arc, it's not the things that you would expect from let's say, a motivational book about your life, about discipline and I don't know what else, but getting your education and networking and all the things that are pedestrian. I didn't want to include that in the book. So it's story arc and it's mischief and mastery and but one of the things that it is, so the 15 of them, I've only give you a couple of them, but one of them is ultra fitness. And so I've been on this just concurrent with the starting of the book. I'm 2 years into a 2.5 year goal. When I went back to the gym after COVID, I thought I want to have a goal for I don't want to just work out. I mean, that'll get boring. I'm not going to stick with it. So, and I thought, okay, I know what I'm going to do. By my 70th birthday, I'm gonna get into bodybuilder shape. And so that was 2.5 years in the future. I'm now 2 years in it. My birthday comes up in June. I'll be 70. I'm so excited to turn 70. I don't know anyone else who's as excited as this, but I'm so excited about it because I'm getting there. And it's so ultra fitness is a really interesting part of this that you end up living, I think, at least physically, you end up, and in terms of health, I guess that's all of it, fitness and health, but you end up living, I think, a better version of any age, certainly these ages. And I've challenged myself that if I'm going to get into bodybuilder shape, then prove it. So now I've required of myself that then I've got to get on stage at least once. And then I'm thinking, if I'm going to do it once, then maybe I should just do it. Maybe I should just take it up as a sport. So I'll be starting bodybuilding I guess I've already started it, but I'll be starting as a bodybuilder at 70. And that just has me completely jazzed. I'm really excited about it. So it's those kinds of things. That, and then, you mentioned Miss Universe. Well, I have a really interesting story. I'll make it as quick as I can. But the way that I met my wife was that I saw a picture in a magazine and I thought, oh my God. And I just happened to be working on a film idea about following my fantasy and going to one of the Nordic countries to find someone, because there wasn't anyone like that where I was living or where I grew up. And so I thought, man, I'm gonna go do that. And so I saw this picture in the magazine. I thought, oh my God, if I was going on this fantasy for real, this is the woman I would bring home. And so I wrote to the magazine. They wrote back. That's not supposed to happen, right? But they wrote back and said, her name is Charlotte. She lives in Copenhagen. We don't know if she speaks a word of English. Good luck. And I went, well, that's my wife. So there's a lot more to the story, but magical things can happen. And so magic is one of those, one of the headings in the book. And I think it's going to be an utter blast to talk to people. I hope I get to talk to Richard Branson. That would be a fun person to interview. But I hope to get to talk to a lot of people who've just pulled off fascinating things in their lives, and talk to them about how they did it, like what led them there, how did they do it, and you will end up with this extraordinary life.
You are always so inspiring. I really enjoyed our first episode, and I followed you on LinkedIn and watched all the things that you're sharing. You always bring such positive energy and creative energy that really just gets me excited. And so it's like, I hope for the listeners and the viewers out there, you also feel this same motivation. I'm going to have links in the show notes for all of your, for the books and for your services and anything like that. And so I want to encourage everybody to reach out. Also, look for Stu on LinkedIn. I'll have a link to his LinkedIn in the show notes, but reach out because he engages and, he takes it seriously. So I appreciate that. Is there any final wrap up that you would like to share before we end the show and you go have dinner with your incredible wife?
I was going to say I should make it quick because my wife is waiting to make dinner. But I just go back to the meetings again. I mean, there are all these really amazing things that happen in life. But if we sell, I just think that one of the things that we always need to keep in mind is that if we can't get meetings, you can't sell, you can't do anything. We have to connect with people to make things happen. And so that ability to get meetings is just I don't know what it sounds like. If I've been studying it and researching it and writing about it for a long time. I don't know what it sounds like outside of that bubble that I live in, but you have to you really should get as good as possible at getting meetings, at reaching out to people that you probably think you should never be able to reach. You can reach them. I mean, how would I have reached my wife, for example? But the people I've reached through these methods have been incredible. The things that others have done because they've read the book and used the tactics, also incredible. And it's really worth your time and effort and investment. It's maybe one of the best investments you can make to actually get good at getting meetings with people that you might think are completely out of reach. Do it, and they aren't out of reach.
Incredible. So inspiring, and I just feel like I always tell students that do internships with me, I have them just reach out through LinkedIn. And I said, tell people I'm a student. And it's amazing the response, people want to help, and
Yeah.
a lot of times, well, that really important man or woman, they got to eat lunch every day, you know, they're gonna
We're all
eat with
human.
somebody,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Yeah.
get a carrier pigeon and make it frickin' happen. All right. Well, listen, I want to thank you for taking the time, and I appreciate having you get back. And I think you and I are going to have some conversations about how we can work together. And I know for the audience, I'm going to speak for them. They appreciate it, and they'll look at the show notes and go to what you're doing. So much appreciation. And I'll end it here by saying, ladies and gentlemen, this is your worst podcast host, Andrew Stotz, saying, I'll see you on the upside.